I am pleased to welcome in Chance Beam, founder and president of Titans Sports Academy out of Kennesaw, Georgia, as we put a spotlight on the Titans baseball program. Chance, good to have you in, and I appreciate the time.
Hey, man, we really appreciate you having us on, and we're excited about being able to talk to you today.
Chance, programs can kind of weigh success in different ways, but over these last 18 years, what has success meant to you in building Titans Sports Academy to the level it's reached?
As you said, success means a lot of things to a lot of people, and we start with our core values. Our core values are accountability, responsibility, attitude, effort, and integrity. And I ask people a lot, nobody remembers who won the third tournament of last summer, but they remember when they got their first offer when they were in high school, right? So we really want to gauge our success based on college commitments and helping change people's lives. And while obviously there's a lot of people that are highly competitive. I don't know if I would put myself in that same category. Nobody's going to be more competitive and want to win than I do. But we're never going to put, a guy has an opportunity to play at the college level. That's going to be the first and foremost. And then obviously we'd like to win national titles and compete at those. But at the end of the day, we're going to gauge our success at how many people's lives we change. And we feel like we'll be able to change people's lives by giving them an opportunity to play at the college level.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I thought the mission statement for Titans, there's a closing line I thought was really important. You say we build champions for baseball and for life. And when you're talking with prospective players and parents about the program, how big a part of it is that in the conversation?
Yeah, no, that's a huge part of the conversations when we're talking to young men. I mean, when you're talking about high school athletes, those guys are the closest they've ever been to potentially playing at the college or professional level. And for example, we're going to talk about the accountability, responsibility, because those old school values that I'm an old guy now for most of my players, but those old school values are the same things that I think that help guys really play not only on the field, but also they're the same things that's going to help them be successful in the business world. So, for example, those same old school values probably in today's world can help a guy be more successful and jump to the front of the line more so now than ever before. Just because I hate to say it, but in our society, those are values that are not really held in high regard on social media and beyond. And so they really allow them to help them be successful in the field, but also really set themselves apart from their classmates as well as their peer group when they're going into the job force, being better husbands, being better employees, being better bosses, and so on. So we're at the end of the day, I want to try to help change these people's life, not change the next 3 months.
It's more than just talk when it comes to aiding players. It's if their desire is to get to the next level. Explain to me how the Titans Sports Academy College Center works and why that was important for you to kind of provide that additional resource for your athletes.
It's a great question. When we look at colleges, and I know that I have a daughter that's a freshman in high school, and this is what I do for a living. And there's many times that I come back and go, I'm not so sure I'm doing the right thing. And I still have a lot of questions. And so when I look at that, and I'm a father of a daughter that's going into high school and trying to figure out where she's going to school, imagine these parents that they don't have the same background and they don't have the same acumen that I have. And so we looked at trying to find a resource for these parents to say, hey, these guys are doing all of the hard work and heavy lifting on the field. We need to make sure that we're filling the gap and standing in that gap that helps those parents understand not only hey, yeah, he's got to get good grades. But if I have a 3.5 GPA, what does that mean in comparison to a 3.2? Mom and dad can't afford $80,000 a year. They can only afford $35,000 a year. I came from a family that couldn't afford just to go to any school and so on. So being able to have that college center allows our athletes to be able to say, okay, these are my GPAs. These are my SAT scores. This is where coach says that I can play athletically. Now let's weed all the schools down that allows me to be able to not have to spend hours and hours and hours of research, allows them to be able to put that information in, come in with a top 15 or 20 schools, and they bring that list into me or our other coaches and say, okay, you're not going to Vandy. No offense, you're not throwing 95 and you're not 6'2". But you as an athlete, you're 5'11" and you're 87, 88, you can go to XYZ school to help them reduce that learning curve of where they're going to fit so they can spend more time actually, reaching out to the schools and soliciting that interest from those schools from places that they're a better fit.
You were on staff with Rod Delmonico, the 2001 Tennessee team that went to Omaha for the College World Series. Delmonico stands as the most successful coach in Tennessee baseball history. And I'm curious, in building your program, how much did you take what you learned from him and making it a part of Titan Sports Academy?
I was very, very blessed to be on a group, on a staff and with a team that was exceptionally talented. But what I took away from that was not only they were exceptionally talented, there was a group of young men and coaching staff that were dedicated to excellence daily. And what I mean by that was, we looked at our practices and how we went about it. The story that I love to tell is we had a young freshman, and I'll leave that guy nameless, and it was probably May, and we would have hitting stations, and we were down the right field line, and I was the low man on the totem pole, so I'm feeding the machine. And we're doing a bunting station, and it's in May. I mean, we played a bunch of games, and everybody's starting to kind of go about it like, whatever, it's not that important to get a bunting station. So this freshman kid fouling balls over the fence, and as a coach, you're kind of barking at him. And then all of a sudden, Chris Burke, who was our first-round pick and played in the big leagues with Houston Astros, I can't say enough about who he was as a player, but he was a better individual. He made our team so much better. He was in that group, and he barks at it. He said, if we lose a game because you can't get a bunt down, you're going to have help. But it was that attitude that not only pervaded that team that made them so great, but what I took away that I really try to instill in our guys, it's about the task that we talk about, effort and attitude. If we're going to rake the field, I want it to be the best that's ever been raked, right? And that type of attitude of how I go about my business pervades every part of our game and how we go about our business. If we win or lose, it's how do we go about our business, because that's what we can control.
That attitude and effort can certainly be foundational pieces when you're talking about player development. But how has your philosophy and that changed over the years, or how much has maybe it not changed over the years in terms of how you approach player development?
I think we were talking about it just recently. Player development now is it's no different than it was 20 years ago. The kids haven't changed. We as a society has changed a lot. But when you really start talking about launch angle, and what launch angle is one of the things that I love and I hate. So, for example, when young high school kid thinks launch angle, they think of, big league these big towering long fly balls that are home runs. The problem is when you're 15, 16, 17 years old and you take that same approach, that towering fly ball is 280 feet and the outfielder's catching. And so the guy is standing in the dugout saying, man, I just missed that, instead of standing on second base saying, man, I just missed that. And so, we talk about launch angle and helping them understand that while launch angle, a 5-degree to 10-degree launch angle is hard ground ball, 15, 20 degrees launch angle. That's where we want to aim you for. Let's stay away from 45. You're just not big and strong enough to really be able to drive that ball apart. So when we talk about development, it's kind of filling the gap of, in the old days, I would say hard ground balls, line drives. Now I say, hey, 10 to 15 guys. Another little adage that I try to put in their mind is that I would say today, where it used to say, if you would, 20 years ago, we would say hard ground balls, line drives. And that was good coaching. If you say that today, people are like, oh, that's terrible. The problem is they don't understand it. Well, they don't really calculate is that big leaguers say you don't want to hit ground balls. Well, because they're dealing with the best infielders on the planet. No offense to most high school infielders. They're not exactly great. So we talk about hitting the ball with pace, and we talk about, I want the ball to go 135 feet and hit the grass. If you hit the ball 135 feet and hits grass, you're on base at any level between pretty much high school and the big leagues. You're going to be on base with 135 feet in grass. So it's hit the ball hard. Let's hit the ball on the line, and whatever happens from there. So I don't know if player development is different. How we talk about is different. So, for example, then you start getting into the pitching stuff. You start to talk about spin rate and axes and all those kind of things. In the old days, you would say, hey, get on top of it. Let's create 12-6, spin that ball. You would have Coke bottles. Now with the advent of Rapsodo and all the tools that we're lucky enough and blessed enough to have here, we can show them. And because players today feel like they're much more visual learners because of honestly growing up playing video games and things of that nature, it gamifies the learning process and development, and they're much more engaged when you have those tools to be able to use them in that way. So I wouldn't say they're different. I'd say the trick is trying to connect the old language to the new technology.
Well, Chance, listen, I truly appreciate the time. I wish you and Titans baseball all the best coming up here in 2022.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.